Let there be peace shared among us. Let there be peace in our eyes. And let this peace sweep the nations until we all realize that with a fresh understanding, all good will come forth in time. Let there be peace shared among us. Let there be peace. Thank you, Carol. Thank you very much. I love that song. Okay. So the title of my message today is rather cryptic. Religion, church, question mark. And this is something that has gone in my head for years and years, more years back than I want to admit. When I was a young girl, I was brought up in the Catholic faith, and people would ask us, what religion are you? It was drilled into my head, I'm Roman Catholic. I even had Megan Google on the way in here, why do we say Roman Catholic as a Catholic? It's because that's the seat of Rome, is where the bishop of the church, the Pope, resides. So you were Roman Catholic. And that was great until I turned about 18 or so and started questioning things. Started questioning why there was this strict set of rules we had to go by. Why were those rules applied to me and not to my neighbor, Aunt Sarah, who was a Baptist and was one of the kindest, nicest people I'd ever met? I mean, she literally didn't say a thing if it wasn't nice. You know that old saying, if you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. That was Aunt Sarah. I never ever heard her utter an unkind word about anybody. And I so admired that about her. So, what's the difference between a religion and a church? Well, I tend to be a little bit of a wordsmith sometimes, and I went digging. And sometimes I'd go so far down the rabbit hole, I hope somebody's holding on to my feet because I'm going to fall in. So I looked up, what's religion? Give me a definition of religion. You will find as many definitions of religion as there are sites on the internet that you go to ask, what's religion? So what I came up with was that religion is an individual or institutionalized set of mores or doctrines and disciplines and dogmas. And I thought, well, that definitely applied to the Catholic Church in my past. But I don't consider unity a religion, because we don't have a set of doctrines or dogmas. Then it was, what's a church? Well, you look it up, and a church is a place of worship predominantly for Christian-based religions. Okay, we're back to religion. So I've got this cryptic, cyclical thing going on. So what I decided to do is I decided to go into Scripture and find out what church meant. And in Matthew 16:18, Jesus said, "Thou art Peter, and upon this rock I will build my church." Upon this rock. Peter, translated from Greek, means rock. A good, stable foundation. But did Jesus really mean that Peter was going to go out and build a church? No, did not. What did church mean to Jesus at that time? So if you look at that, it's a community of people. It's a community of like-minded people who follow his teachings and try and live by the example he set with his life. So that brought me back to religion, church, question mark. Now, last year we had Reverend Chad Grosvenor here from Unity, and we did a big workshop on focus ministry. So one of the things that came up as a result of that workshop was, do we identify as a church or a spiritual community? And I came from, my New Thought background was from Church of Religious Science, which changed to Centers for Spiritual Living, for a couple of reasons. Number one, because Ernest Holmes never intended for religious science, the science of mind, to become a church. Truthfully, nor did Myrtle and Charles Fillmore ever intend for Unity to be a church or a religion. They wanted it to be a philosophy, a way of life. I think the other reason Centers for Spiritual Living changed is because we got tired of saying, when you said religious science, no, we don't know Tom Cruise. No, we don't practice Scientology. Because there was a lot of explanation anytime somebody said, where do you go? So one of the things we came up with during our focus ministry workshop was, we are a church, we're not a spiritual center. And that stuck in my claw for a while until I came up and looked at this definition that the Master Teacher Jesus put out. A church is a community of like-minded people. We come together to follow the teachings of the master teacher, Jesus, and to emulate that way of life. If you think about that, that's exactly what we're here for, right? We're like-minded people. This is our teaching. So a corporate term that kind of came up during our talks with Reverend Chad was, what's your elevator speech? Everybody know what an elevator speech is? You know, I work for IBM, and what does IBM do? I'm in the elevator on the first floor. I've got to the second floor to tell you what my company does. So what do we do as our elevator speech from Unity? We got to go from the first to the second floor. Now, our statement of faith, where I told you what is unity, it's a spiritual practice. You know, we are a positive, practical application of Christianity. You can go through that whole thing, but if I'm got to get that message to you between the first and second floor, that's a little lengthy, isn't it? For me, it is. So I've kind of revamped what my elevator speech is now for unity. And I'm going to borrow the words of the Dalai Lama. My religion is kindness. He stopped talking at that. What is your religion? And he said, my religion is kindness. And that's all he said. So now my elevator speech is going to be, my religion is kindness. And I choose to practice that at Unity of New Braunfels because we're a positive, practical approach to Christianity and we're open to all because we see God in all. And I'm going to stop at that. That's my elevator speech. I'm going to be able to get that in between the first and second floor. And God help you if you're in the elevator and it breaks down because we've got a whole plethora of things we can go from there, right? Every time I drive here, I live up off of 27, 22, and 46, and I come down 337, and I take the shortcut down through Hans Road. Dr. Emily is very familiar with this. And there is a sign that I pass every time I come down Hans Road. This is across from the fire station. Emily, I'm sure you've probably seen this every time you go by. How will you choose kindness today? Every time I see that, I just feel lighter. Because it reminds me, kindness is a choice. I get to choose kindness. And if I'm going to say my religion is kindness, how am I going to choose it today and tomorrow? And how do I express that? How do we express kindness? Can somebody give me an example of something kind they've done in the last day or so?
I stopped by the lemonade stand up in the village church and gave them a donation and they bought 2 bottles of water. Went around and had about 10 minutes to get from my house to here. And I thought, I don't have time to do it. And I thought, I can do it anyway. And I felt so good. And I looked at the clock before I stopped, and then I looked at it again when I got to the next intersection, and it hadn't changed time at all. That meant that it took no time whatsoever to stop at that lemonade stand and give those 2 of those when you get home.
Kindness doesn't take anyone to say, Tom. Yeah, spending time sharing a meal. Deb.
When really upset me, I really didn't. I didn't necessarily want to, and I felt like I didn't have the time. I could justify this. I got to get this done. But I did it, and I was really happy.
Going to our core value of integrity, doing the right thing. Megan.
Kindness for myself, I laid in bed for an extra 5 minutes.
Kindness to myself, I laid in bed for 5 minutes. Jody.
I invited our friend Michael to come live with us in community because he was by himself and
Opening your home to someone who needs that. Pete.
About everything.
There you go, caring about everything. Kathy.
I have a neighbor who's a recent widow, so now we walk our dogs together every evening. She wouldn't go out otherwise.
Sparing, taking some time, absolutely. And Megan brought up a really good point. When you're showing kindness, how will you choose kindness? Don't forget the most important person in your life. Who's the most important person in your life? You. You know, there's an old saying, if you're on an airplane and the air mask drops down because of a change in pressure, what do you do with the air mask? Do you give it to the person next to you? You use it first, because unless you are filled, you can't fulfill a need for someone else. So it's very, very important to do that. It's important to remember, but remember yourselves for kindness. You know, I had an opportunity not too very long ago to be more kind to myself when I got up in the morning and not realizing that the coffee pot had been placed back under, you know, in the little spot on the machine, but it hadn't been emptied from the day before. Yeah, everybody knows. Everybody knows what happened, right? So we get up and this coffee is cascading over the countertop in the cabinet and on the floor. Now, there was a time when I would have chastised myself and called myself an idiot and a dummy and everything else. And this time I looked at it and said, well, it's an opportunity to clean that countertop again. We kind of have a rule in our house, don't put the coffee pack back under unless you cleaned it and it's empty. But it happened to be a day when the housekeeper came and she saw it and went, and I didn't check it the night before, so the next day we got coffee everywhere. So I was kind to myself then, because I'm very bad about going, you knucklehead, you moron, what did you do that for? And then I think about it and think, why am I talking to myself that way? I don't talk to my family or anybody else that way, not even Steve. Yeah, no, I don't. So Megan found this great quote for me. I don't know who Anthony D. Williams is. I have Googled this, and there's so many Anthony D. Williams. If anybody knows who this person is, I'd love to know more about him. But he said this, do one act of kindness each day of the year and change 365 lives. Now many of you have just given us an example of how you've changed someone's life. But let's just say I get to be grumpy sometimes. So every day of the week, I don't know about that. I'm kind of a Monday, Thursday kind of gal. Maybe I'm just a Thursday kind of gal. Well, that's 52 times a year, right, that I can change someone's life. If I am Monday, Thursday, I got 104 times. Maybe I'm a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and that's like 150. So you see where I'm going with the math here? So even if you're not every single day doing an act of kindness, we're changing things. We're making that paradigm shift and pushing the negativity in the world away by doing these acts of kindness. By doing these acts of kindness. And it's important to remember that. It's important to understand that. If you think about it, an act of kindness doesn't have to be a physical act. Candace stopped and got water. You invited Michael. You invited people over. You go for a walk. You took a few extra minutes for yourself. You care. That part that Pete brought up about caring, an act of kindness can be a thought. To have kind thoughts. In the last week, how many of you have had kind thoughts about people in South Central Texas? Everybody in the room. We've had those thoughts and prayers for people that have gone through some devastation. Those are acts of kindness. Those thoughts, those prayers, the positive aspects of what's going on, those are things that we do to give an understanding and act better, expressing kindness towards others. That's the things we have to remember. So 365 days a year. I mean, that's just an amazing, amazing thing. This week I was reading a little article, and it was about a Mormon dad who wrote a letter to his son who was going on his first mission. He was going to, I think it was Thailand for 2 years. And I'm not reading the whole letter, but there was a part of this that was so touching. The whole letter was very touching, from this father to son on what he was about to embark upon and how it would change his life. But he had this one line that just so touched me. He was talking to his son and he said, make your brand relentless optimism and unreasonable kindness. Make your brand, what you represent, what you stand for, make that relentless optimism and unreasonable kindness. I'm not sure how that would be defined, unreasonable kindness, but I kind of like it anyway. Because it's kindness, it goes up and over and above, right? It goes over the top. And I think that's the important part. That's the important thing to remember, is the kindness that goes over the top. And you know, one of the things we have to remember is when we do something kind for someone else, who benefits from it? We do. How did you feel when you got back in the car today and realized it didn't take me any time to stop? The clock's on the same time it was when I pulled over. You benefit from it first. And there are many, many ways that we benefit. When you do something nice for someone, intentionally do something nice for someone, it's really interesting how you feel afterwards. Because you feel much better, don't you? Don't you feel a little bit lighter when you do something? And I mean something, and I'm not discounting when you go through, you're going into HEB and somebody needs the cart you've got, so you give them the cart. I'm not talking about opening the door for somebody because you happen to be going through at the same time. It's still a very nice gesture, and it is kindness. But when you're coming back out of the grocery store and you happen to notice that there's somebody struggling to put something in their car, and you stop and help them put it in, that's an intentional act of kindness. You stop to do something. Or you stop to tell somebody who looks like maybe they've had a bad day, you know what? You look delightful today. I love the way you wear your hair. Just different things like that. Because we benefit in the end. Because when I do something nice for someone, they turn around and just give me a big smile. I feel like I lost a pound or two. You know, I'm a lot lighter when that happens. I wish doing kind acts would make me lose weight, because I'd be mowing your yards, I'd be cleaning your toilet, I'd be doing anything, but it's not always the way. So many of you know that Rumi is my favorite Sufi poet. And Rumi says this: when we practice loving kindness and compassion, we are the first ones to profit. We are the first ones to profit from that. It's like it's a form of currency. And we don't perform kind acts because we have to, because it's what we have to do. I have to be nice to somebody. I think today I'm going to be nice to Judy. I wasn't nice to her last week, so I'll be nice this week. You know, we don't do it because we expect something in return. We do it because it's in integrity. It's just the right thing to do. And I don't know about you, but when I'm kind to someone, it feels good. And like I said, kindness doesn't have to be some overt physical act. Connie and I sit out on the back porch every morning and have coffee. And we do kind acts for one another that are just second nature. Hey, I'm getting another cup of coffee. Can I get you one? Or when I come out after doing some chores in the house and she's sitting outside, she's already fixed my chair for me. We have to put the cushions up because the feral cats otherwise enjoy the furniture. But she'll have the cushions set up and ready to go for me. There's lots of things we do for one another we don't even realize, but those are acts of kindness. Those are the things that we look for. Those are the things that we do each time. So here's my personal exploration for you. How will you define your religion? I say my religion is kindness, and I choose to practice it at Unity of New Braunfels. But that doesn't have to be your religion. Your religion is very personal. It's very individual. It's very specific to you. It's how you see your spiritual path in this world. It's what you use, the tools that you use on that spiritual path that you're on. Express yourself with kindness each day. Anybody know what I mean by that? How you express yourself. When you're walking past someone, do you just kind of look down? I'm not going to look at them. I don't want eye contact with that. Or you walk by and just smile. We drive through our neighborhood, and every time we pass somebody, we just kind of wave, they wave back. I came from California. You wave at somebody, they're going to look at you real strangely there. But here you wave, they wave back. It's a big smile. I'm expressing myself with kindness. And then identify how being kind has helped reshape your life. Not necessarily how you have been kind to others. We know how that shapes our lives. But how has other people's kindness helped reshape your life? And how does it reshape your life when you are kind? If you get up in a grumpy mood and all of a sudden, by happenstance, you have an opportunity to be kind to someone, are you as grumpy when you're done? I would venture to say not usually. Depends on what that interaction was, but if it's an opportunity to be kind, it's usually much, much better. So I encourage everybody to define religion for yourself. Identify what your church is. To me, this is my church. This building is not my church. You are my church. You are my community. You're the people with whom I share that like-minded idea that everybody is perfect in God's eyes. And it is my job to every day look for the perfection in each of you, look for the perfection in everything. And then the question mark. That question mark is rather cryptic, so you can identify with what that means to you, because we all have those question marks. I've been able to eliminate some of those question marks in my life by now understanding my spiritual path and understanding those that are on it with me and how we all interact. So, religion, church, question mark. You get to fill in the blanks. Thank you.